Welcome, everybody, to Cinema Royale. I am Travis Thompson of PunchdrunkCritics.com, and we are talking Oscars. The Academy Awards are this weekend. It is our Super Bowl. If you're in the DC area, you know that for like the 10th or 12th year in a row, I'll be hosting the Oscar night viewing party at the Arlington Cinema and Draft House on Sunday night. Come through and join us. It'll be me and my homie Tim Gordon, president of the Washington, D.C. Film Critics Association. I bring the good looks and the knowledge. He brings trivia questions. All right. So, on this week's show, we are joined by my good friend. You knew I was going to have her on here, Karen Peterson of Awards Watch. How are you doing, Karen?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I am very good. Much better for having you here. Of course, I love having you on, especially this time of year. There's nobody else I trust to talk about the Oscars more than you. So
No
thank you.
pressure.
I know, right? If you don't get them right, I mean, I'm going to come back. I'm going to have you back on, and we're just going to criticize. We're going to go down everything you got wrong. No, we're not going to do that. But, but Karen, let's start with how are you feeling going into this Oscars? How are you feeling about the nominees? How are you feeling going into this weekend?
That's a great question. Um, I feel like within the nominees, I have a few favorites and some things that I'm really excited for and some people that I'm rooting for. But overall, I think this slate is kind of an interesting one. We have some films that how did we get here with this movie and others that are just, I don't even know when I look at the 10 best picture nominees, I don't know which of these movies we'll still be talking about 10 years from now.
That's a good point. I've done a couple segments on the Oscars today, a few actually, and my thing has been the way I feel about it going into this weekend is vastly different than the way I felt about it just a few weeks ago. I look at Emilia Perez, which seems like it just kind of fell off the face of the earth the last few
Not
weeks.
for bad reason,
I
not
know
for
exactly for reasons that are outside of like the movie itself in
yeah.
some ways. But I don't have a clear view of what I think is going to be like the winner. I mean, Emilia Perez had 13 Oscar nominations, but how many do I actually think is going to win now? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what the front runner is right now. My gut tells me Honora, but I don't really know. I think it could be. For what I'd be shocked if it was Conclave. No, I really don't know.
And that's what makes this year such an interesting and tricky one to predict.
Hmm. Uh-oh, Karen's frozen.
In a
There you go.
normal year, absolutely it did when Sean Baker won DGA and then the film won PGA. And keep in mind too, just like with the Oscar Best Picture category, PGA also does preferential ballots. So for Honora to come out on top there, that was really big. And those happened in the same weekend. And then with WG as well. So it has those three, which makes it seem like it should be just it should be over. That should be the movie. But then there's so many other pieces where it's not as clear cut as you would maybe think that it is.
How, in regards to Emilia Perez, like when was the actual like voting? When did that take place? Was that before a lot of the controversy, or would you say it was after?
It was the controversy itself broke out before probably most voters had turned in their ballots.
Okay, so it could
It
definitely
has
have
a huge impact. Yeah.
could definitely have an impact. Okay, and I think it will. Honestly, I think it will have an impact. Just how far it goes, it was unclear. Like, will it stretch down? Like, it's probably taken Carlos Sofia Gascon out of the running, possibly the best actress.
I
But
would say, oh, I'm sorry.
no, no, no. I was gonna say, but will it affect Zoe Saldana? Will it affect her?
I would say at this point, Amelia Perez's best day is two Oscars for original song and for Zoe Saldana. And even though Saldana has done absolutely everything she needs to win the Oscar, it's still not a guarantee.
Whew. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting night at the Oscars. So let's take a look at the big categories and just kind of get your feel for who you think is in the front in the position to win, who you think could be a dark horse. So let's look at Best Picture and start right at the top. And you got the
Okay.
nominees are Nora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part Two, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. As I said before, my gut is leaning towards Honora at the moment, but I would not be shocked by most of these movies, honestly, if one of them snuck away with the win. How are you feeling about the Best Picture race, Karen?
I think it's really between three and there and I think that we have a solid top five and then the rest are just kind of happy to be nominated.
Mm.
The five that I say are at the top would be Anora, would be Conclave, but also The Brutalist has done a lot within the guilds. It hasn't won any American guilds, which is really interesting, but
Mm.
it's been nominated at all of them. And then it did well with BAFTA with British voters. So it's not over for The Brutalist. And then you also have this kind of surprise surge with I'm Still Here. Fernando Torres won the Golden Globe. A lot of people hadn't even seen that film yet. Now it's nominated for Best Picture, Best International Feature, where it will probably win, even though, a couple of weeks ago, everyone just had already practically engraved the statuette for Emilia Perez. Um, so that's a really interesting one. And then Wicked's not out either. It's got 10 nominations, a lot of texts, and people love that movie. So I think I would be surprised if Wicked ended up pulling it off, but I don't think it's over for any of those five.
The movies I've been asked about the most in the last couple of days, talking Oscars, have been I'm Still Here, mostly by people who had never heard of it before and was wondering why it was in the Best Picture race. Hopefully, some things I said got them to check it out, and Wicked, mostly by people who because they've seen Wicked. It might be the only movie out of the 10 they've seen, and they're
Mm-hmm.
wondering if it's got a shot at winning. Those have been the two
Yeah.
movies I've heard about the most from like more casual movie watchers. So and Wicked is the popular pick. It's the movie that's made the most money. It's the one that most people have seen, and a lot of people want to see it win. So, like my friends would love for Wicked to win.
Yeah.
I keep telling them it's probably not going to win, you guys, probably not. But then again, you never know. It does have a lot of popular support, and that goes a long way.
Well, and in this year, where, as I said, there's not really a clear front runner to
Mhm.
win a lot of awards, there's no film that's just going to go home with double digit Oscars.
This isn't
And
going to be an Oppenheimer year then, where it wins, where it like wins everything.
yeah, that's not going to happen. And I think this could be a year like we had with maybe The Shape of Water, which was Best Picture and won, I think, four. And and that could happen here. A lot of people are talking in this town, and I still do not see it happening. But there is a world, because of how voting shakes out, there is a world where we could have a film win Best Picture and only Best Picture.
Wow, that would be definitely something to talk about if that
Yes, it
happens.
would.
Wow. All right, let's move on to Best Director. The nominees for Best Director. Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, Sean Baker for Anora, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, Corley Forget, I always say these names wrong.
Farja.
Thank you, Farja, for The Substance, and James Mangold for A Complete Unknown. I will be honest, I don't know who wins this. I really don't have a clue who wins this. I want Sean Baker to win, but I don't know who wins this, and I don't know who's the front runner. Who are you thinking, Karen?
Now, see, this is where to me that triple win for Nora and for Sean Baker with DGA, WGA, and PGA really tells me that he is the front runner to win Best Director. I think if there's an upset here, it's Brady Corbet. I don't think Mangold or ODR. I think one thing about the fallout with Amelia Perez is a lot of Oscar voters just don't want to have anything to do with that movie. So I think that unless you're Zoe Saldana, I think you're just gonna relax in your seat that night. But and Farja would be cool, but not enough voters like the movie. They appreciate certain things about it and they loved me, but they don't love the movie. So I don't
Right.
consider her really a strong contender either. I really do think this is between Baker and Corbet. And I think the wind is with Baker at this point.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. And in regards to The Substance, I think you're right. A lot of people have just a lot of respect for Demi's performance. I like the movie. I don't love the movie. In a way, it's kind of like Amelia Perez, where I love Gascon's performance. I don't necessarily love the movie. There's
Mhm.
certain films out there that in this mix where like the performances are the things that stand out more than the movies themselves. And this
Yeah.
is one of those cases for me. Um, Moving on to actor in a lead role. All right, Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ray Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. I feel bad for Coleman Domingo, first black actor nominated twice in a row for Best Actor. He's not going to win either, I don't think. Sing Sing is one of those movies that everybody I know who sees it loves it, has loved it. They've put it out a couple of times this year trying to get attention on this movie, and nothing seems to have quite worked for it in order to get it the momentum that it needs. It's a little sad. I'm still a little surprised by Sebastian Stan being in here for The Apprentice. And not that he's bad in The Apprentice. I think he's actually really good. I just didn't think that movie was going to lead him to this. I thought he might get in for a different man and not necessarily this. I'm leaning towards Brody winning this still. How do you think some of the controversy surrounding The Brutalist and like the whole AI thing, whatever, how much do you think that's impacting the movie and might impact his nomination here?
Honestly, I think if there is an impact with those comments about AI, it affects the crafts,
Hmm.
not the actor.
Okay.
And even weirdly, maybe not even Corbet. But yeah, I don't think that that's what people are thinking about when it comes to Adrian Brody. I think people who aren't voting for him are doing so either because they genuinely just like another performance more, or because there's kind of a couple of schools of thought here, or because he's essentially winning for a character that's so similar to one that he won for 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Which they're different movies, they're different characters, but there's such a crossover that it doesn't. I don't know. I think some voters are just gonna be like, we've already done this for him. So I'm not sure. Um, and I would have said a couple of weeks ago that Ray Fiennes is the second one. Like he's the potential spoiler for Brody, but Fiennes hasn't really been out there promoting them. Like he's shown up to all the awards shows, but he hasn't done a lot of the work that is normally part of an Oscar campaign.
I
I
kind
think
of
he
forgot about
genuinely
Conclave for
doesn't.
a little while. I kind of forgot about
Yeah.
Conclave for a bit, for I was like, dang, it's like in the last like week or so, I've like started hearing about it again. But for a while,
Mhm.
I kind of forgot about it.
I think if the SAG Awards had happened while voting was still going on or before voting started, like typically you get some of these big um, precursors while people are voting for stuff, and so those award shows matter because people are really getting swayed by some of the things that they see and hear, like some of the speeches, and that didn't really happen. I think if voting was still going on when they announced the SAG Awards, I think Ray Fiennes would be a stronger contender,
Yeah,
and I think Conclave would, with the ensemble win, would be like, whoa, it's unstoppable now. But that's not how it shakes out. What we instead have is Timothy Chalamet wins at SAG, which again didn't help specifically with the overall vote. And I don't know that his speech would have helped him as much as he would like to hope it would, but it didn't have anything to do with this. But what we do see with him winning at SAG is that he does have a lot of support from actors.
yeah,
The
and
branch is also, or the SAG union is also a lot of radio personalities and TV too. So there's not a lot of crossover with Oscar voters. But it's the strongest, biggest branch of the Academy. And you have to look at that SAG win as something that could be a sign of movement.
Chalamet seems like a dark horse pick to me
Mhm.
to win this. Maybe not even a dark horse, but like a strong contender to win this. I think he's really good in that movie too.
If he
Um,
pulls it off, I won't actually be that surprised. And you mentioned Sebastian Stan being surprised that he was nominated for The Apprentice. I was surprised too that they went with that over a different man, except for, what made it actually make more sense to me was when Jane Fonda called him out during the SAG Awards and praised his performance. I thought, oh, okay, there's a lot of people who actually did want to recognize it. They just didn't want to, do so publicly, maybe appear with him, on actors on actors, stuff like that, to talk
what
about.
What
who
are the
he plays
chances
in the
he
movie.
wins? What are the chances he wins just to stick it to a certain someone who hates this movie, and though he's probably never seen it?
I think there will be some people who vote that way. I don't think it will be enough to actually win the category, but also I wouldn't hate it because I think it's a great performance.
I think he would not give the speech that people would want him to give if he did win. I think
I
if he,
don't know.
I think if he won, they should just have like Jane Fonda come up and give his speech.
Yeah.
She would give the speech that people want her to give for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to actress in the leading role. So, Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carlos Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, Mikey Madison for Anora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. I love Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here, but Mikey Madison has been my pick for this for a while. Although I feel like it's going to be Demi Moore who wins this. I feel like she's got the momentum right now. People love her story. And I was talking to Tim about this when we were discussing what our plans for this weekend, where we were like, kind of sad that um, The Last Showgirl came out this year too, because I feel like Demi Moore's kind of stolen Pamela Anderson's story a little bit. Like I wish those movies were like a year apart or something, But it seems like Demi Moore has taken that story and made it her own here for this, and she might win this for The Substance, I think.
Well, and I think part of the reason that she's such a strong contender in this category and why that performance is so good is because it's her story too. I
Yeah,
mean,
I remember
she
that time when she
was
turned into a grotesque monster. I remember that. That was a rough period in her career.
no, you know what I
I
mean.
know what you mean.
But yeah, just that she was at the top of her game as a sex symbol. She's never there was a time maybe in the 90s where she was starting to be taken seriously as a more serious actress, but it always came back to how she looked. And I think she channels so much of that into this performance and just does such a great job. And I mean, I personally love the movie. I think it's excellent.
Mhm.
But also I think that her performance is just so unforgettable. And there's a couple of moments in that are so relatable to so many people. And I think it's really great. Mikey Madison is very good. I think she's the best part about Honora. Um, I think looking at some of the others, Cynthia Erivo, I think if somehow Wicked just became a sleeper and started getting a bunch of wins across the night, I think maybe Erivo could do it, but I really don't see that happening. And then with Gascon, the fact that they're writing articles in the trades about how she is in fact showing up to the Oscars this weekend tells you she got very few votes.
Right.
Yeah, like those two are just they're not happening. What I could see, because just looking at what has happened so far, you have Moore and Torres winning the Globes, and then Moore has won so many things along the way. Mikey Madison wins BAFTA, um and then Demi has that great moment at SAG. So it does feel like it could be either of those two, and they probably are splitting some votes, which means if they do that enough, there's a road for Fernando Torres to come up and
There
win.
is. Yeah.
um but I think in this, like, for myself making my ballot, I say just stick with Demi and you're very likely to be right.
Yeah. I, I think I will be doing that as well. There's a part of me that would, even though, like I said, I'm rooting for Mikey Madison. There's a part of me that wants Fernando Torres to win. I do think she's extraordinary here. In that, and I'm Still Here. Probably the best part about the most memorable part about that movie is her.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any general thoughts about some of the other categories? Supporting actor, best supporting actress, best animated, anything that's on your mind for the rest of these categories?
Well, I would actually like to say with the supporting actress category, there's, well, with both of the supporting actors, Kieran Culkin and Zoe Saldana have done absolutely everything they need to do to just march to the Oscars. They
Right.
haven't missed. And that typically means they're going to get the Oscar too. that doesn't mean that it's 100% guaranteed. Occasionally, there are curveballs and surprises. Um, there have been some rumblings in the last couple of days. Some people think that because it feels like Conclave really has kind of been there all along, that Isabella Rossellini could be pulled in with the movie and end up winning supporting actress.
Mhm.
I don't feel confident enough to actually predict that myself, but I can understand some of the wisdom there, especially people who just want nothing to do with Amelia Perez, people who actually want to support a real supporting nomination because let's face it, Zoe Saldana is a co-lead in that movie.
Right.
So there's a few things like that, but I mean, personally, I think it would be just such an unprecedented, well, not unprecedented, but such a shock that I'm not willing to say Saldana is not going to win. I do think she will pull it off in the end.
Yeah, I think she will too. Honestly, when I look at the rest of the nominees, none of them stand out quite like she does. Honestly, and it's not saying that the rest of them are bad. I think they're all great, including Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown. I really liked, um, but none of them's like strike the same chord as Saldana does and Amelia Perez. Like you said, she is more of a co-lead. I feel like if this was a few months later, if some of the controversies had broken out a few months later, they might have tried to make her the lead and move Gascon down to the best supporting. But who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
And
It's
and
possible.
honestly, Kieran Culkin, I don't know if anybody who takes over a movie the way he does in uh in A Real Pain. So
Yeah.
uh
If there was a spoiler there, I would say watch out for Jeremy Strong, not Yura Borisov. I would say watch out for Jeremy Strong, who is fantastic as Roy Cohn.
yeah.
And people really, they, as much as they like to gently mock Jeremy Strong and his method acting, a lot of people respect him and they admire what he's able to do. And there is just something kind of fun about stepping back and looking at this being a, kind of a race between the two Succession boys. So
Yeah. Before
they're
we
they're
go,
good actors. What
they
can I
are. They
say?
really, really are. And they're proving that they're more than just that show. Before we go, Flow over the Wild Robot and Inside Out 2. Yes, 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 yes.
I'd love to see it. And actually, I don't know if I would be surprised if it happens. I still have the wild robot,
Yeah,
but I don't think Flo is a bad guess at all.
yeah. Flow is also in the best foreign feature
It's
as well,
international
right?
feature.
International
Wild
feature.
Robot is an original score.
Yeah, I'd love to see Flow win both of those. But I absolutely adore that movie though, so I want it
Yeah.
to win everything it can.
I also am pulling a wild card here, and I say Diane Warren's finally winning an Oscar this year.
What? She's available for interview. I don't know if you knew that or not. So you
I've
should,
heard.
yeah. So if you if she wins, you should reach out. You might get
For
lucky.
sure, of course.
Yeah. Uh, Karen Peterson, Awards Watch. Um, what's the podcast again? Why am I blanking?
I have the Watch and Talk, and I
Watch
have
and Talk
Citizen Dame.
and Citizen Dame. Citizen Dame is the one I was thinking of. I'm old. I don't remember things as well as I used to. Check out Karen Peterson and on all of her outlets. She's fantastic. She is the best person to talk to at this time of year. Karen, thank you so much for joining me this week on Cinema Royale. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks everybody for tuning in this week. You can find me every day at punchdrunkcritics.com, and you can find Cinema Royale anywhere you get your podcasts and on our YouTube channel. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the Oscars. Bye. Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.